class. So just a note on these videos in general before I get started with this week's material. These videos I just treat as mini lessons. So they're going to be supplemental information to your textbook. So anytime that a chapter is assigned to you, what I usually do is have a discussion on that chapter, an assignment on that chapter, and then I try to post this video to offer any sort of additional guidance that I feel is necessary for that chapter. So I would encourage you to, of course, read the chapter and then watch the video and read through any additional information that I may post so that you can really gain an understanding of that particular theme of that chapter. So that's just some background. Let's go ahead and get started then with chapter 1. So if you've read through the syllabus or if you just read through the introduction of your textbook, then you gathered that English 112 really focuses on the argumentative style of writing. So in English 111, chances are that you wrote in several different types of writing styles. Probably narrative, perhaps a comparison and contrast, maybe a cause and effect. All of those should have led up to the argumentative style, where you can take any of that writing and present it as part of an argument to your audience. So unlike English 111, where you were given several different types of goals in an essay, English 112, its main goal is to create argumentative writing and then to understand how to have a successful argumentative paper. Now, argumentative writing is, in my opinion, the most common academic writing that you're going to have in the classroom, not just in an English classroom, but in any classroom or any class that you might have. Argumentative writing, its goal, as many of us know, is to influence someone's opinion, but it can also be to challenge their point of view, it can be to influence their behavior, it can be to encourage them to take up an action. So there's several different goals of argumentative writing, but to have a successful argumentative paper, it's not just about choosing a good topic, but it's also about presenting that topic's background, researching the topic, supporting your argument with credible sources, and analyzing your argument so that your audience can be persuaded and that you can show them that your point of view or your opinion or your belief is the strong one and that they should support it as well. So what we do in our class is we introduce different styles of argumentative writing, but also different strategies to use in your writing so that ultimately when we get to that final project, you have the necessary skills to create a strong argument in your writing. And then when you leave the class, you have these skills that you can use in other academic settings as well. So that just gives you some background. Let's go ahead and get started then with chapter 1, which is the chapter that you were assigned for this week. Just as the textbook suggests, the goal of chapter 1 is to take what other people have already said and figure out how to use it in your paper. So argumentative papers follow the same sort of format that you have seen in other writings and that you probably have used in English 111, which is that introduction, the body, and then the conclusion. When you start an argumentative paper, your introduction is going to follow the same format that you use in other writings, in that it's going to grab attention, it's going to introduce your topic, and it's going to state your thesis, which is your point of view. However, what a lot of people then do in an argumentative writing is give background on their topic. And this is where it starts to come into what other people have already said. And then it becomes this challenge of how can I include what other people have already said, but still stay true to my argument or still stay the main voice of my paper, which is an important part of writing. So what chapter 1 does is it gives you several different strategies that you can use when you're introducing what other people have already said to be true. Next chapter, we talk more about summarizing sources and paraphrasing sources. But this chapter just focuses more on how to set up the source in your writing. So I encourage you as you read to look at some of the suggestions that they make, how to include sources in a clean way that you are shifting easily between what you're saying and what other people are saying. All right, so here's some, suggestions of my own. When you're giving background, most of the time when you choose an argumentative topic, you want to give some sort of background to your audience so that they know the problem before you offer the solution to the problem. I always encourage people that this is a great place to start to do summary as opposed to direct quotes. A summary, you can take a lot of information and condense it down to 1 or 2 paragraphs as opposed to long, lengthy papers, as you probably have already read. It also gives you an opportunity in that background to give opinions of experts that you're going to also use in your paper. Another challenge of using sources when you're directly quoting them is using them as support to what you're saying. So when you're creating an argument in writing, you are the main voice of your paper. So this is supposed to be your point of view and your beliefs. And your goal then is to find the research and the experts that agree with you. So I always tell people it should be you, them, and then your analysis. So what chapter 1 does is it gives you some suggestions on how you can start a paragraph or begin with your reason, explain your reason, and then weave in what experts have said that agree with your reasoning. The last challenge of using what other people have already said is when they oppose you. And it's important in an argument that you always consider that opposition, but you do so in a way that you can still defend your point of view. So if you're saying some people believe this to be true, however, so answering your opposition is another way that you can look at what other people have already said about your topic as well. All right, so I know that's really brief and it's a lot. We're going to, chapter 1 is more like an overview, and then we're going to break it down and talk a little bit more. But just quick recap of all that. You can consider what other people have said as part of your background. If you're using it as support, it's important that they're supporting what you say, not the other way around. And then you can also use it to answer your opposition. Okay, so if you have any questions over that, please be sure to reaching out to me. But again, we're going to break those down more throughout the class, and hopefully they begin to make a little bit more sense if they haven't already. Thanks.